So if Arnold Schwarzenegger made a protein powder, would you try it? The very hot supplement company Ladder is banking on a yes, and they didn't just get Schwarzenegger behind this brand. They've also got LeBron James, Lindsey Vonn, and Cindy Crawford all backing it. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, whey protein, how do you make that interesting? How do you make it stand out from the crowd? It's absolutely everywhere. There's nothing that interesting about it. Well, without overselling it, I think Ladder's figured out a pretty interesting formula to help theirs stand out from the crowd. So today I'm going to be talking about the brand, the ingredients, the nutrition, the price, and some pros and cons to help you decide if this flavor is right for you. But for now though, let's find out what these vanilla and chocolate flavors taste like. Now, I've tried a ton of protein powders, and I gotta say, it's pretty hard to make one that does not taste good with milk. Milk is a great source of sugar and fat after all. I think the real test to see if a protein powder is tasty is to see what it's like with water. So I've mixed this with 10 ounces of water, and I gotta say, I think this is pretty tasty. It's naturally flavored and sweetened, which is really important to point out. This chocolate flavor is sweetened with some monk fruit extract and some steviol, some bits of stevia, and it tastes quite like dark chocolate. It's quite earthy, but it doesn't venture into the bitter category. Instead, it's quite malty in my opinion. So it's not too dark, it's not too bitter, it's definitely not too sweet, but the maltiness in there really helps to round it out, and I gotta say, I'm very happy to drink this. Now, as for the vanilla flavor, a lot of people say you can't really differentiate between different types of vanilla because it's so bland, but I really like vanilla myself. This flavor, I was not as impressed with it as I was with the chocolate. It's pretty sweet. It's close to an ice cream flavor, but it doesn't have quite the same creaminess to it. It's a little bit closer to, I would say like halfway between vanilla flavor and birthday cake flavor. So it's perfectly fine. However, it does suffer from the same issue as the chocolate one, which is that the texture isn't that great. It's a little bit gritty, chalky, like somewhere between those two adjectives. That's the biggest downside, I think, especially with the vanilla one, more so the chocolate one. After I took a sip, I could kind of feel it on my tongue, so I wasn't a big fan of the vanilla, if I'm being totally honest. So as far as the actual nutrition of this product, both flavors have the same amount of calories and protein. The vanilla is a tiny bit lower in fat and carbohydrates, but not by very much. So this says 130 calories per scoop. You're getting 26 grams of protein. You're getting about 6 grams of carbohydrates with 3 or so grams of sugar, a couple of grams of fiber as well, and 1 gram of fat, although the vanilla, it's half a gram of fat. The vanilla definitely has fewer calories. It should be like 130 calories for that, more like 137 for the chocolate, but they say it's 130 for both. Not that big a difference at the end of the day. So it is worth pointing out, that's not crazy low in carbohydrates if that's a really big priority for you. Again, you're getting 5 to 6 grams of carbohydrates in this for 26 grams of protein. That is worth pointing out. However, a lot of other interesting things have stood out here. There's quite a lot of vitamins and minerals in here. It's not like IsoPure, which has like upwards of 100% of the recommended daily intake. This has about 15 to 30% of the recommended daily intake of quite a few vitamins and minerals, including vitamins A and C and E, magnesium in here as well, which is really interesting. It is highest in biotin, which is a B vitamin that's like closely linked to healthier skin and hair. That's got about 200% of the recommended daily intake there, a little bit less. It's also quite high in calcium as well, about 45% of the RDI. So I was pretty impressed with that. Finally, this has a bunch of probiotic bacteria in it. There are about 2 billion CFUs here from several different strains. And probiotic bacteria have been linked to a really wide variety of health benefits, everything from better immunity to low inflammation. Some studies have even suggested it could possibly help you manage stress. So it's a really interesting addition and definitely elevates Ladder above the competition. So this was a pretty big surprise. The majority of the protein in this whey protein product is not whey protein, it's casein protein, which is the other protein in milk. So in one serving, you're getting roughly 25, 26 grams of milk protein isolate and about 5.5 grams of whey protein isolate, and 80% of the protein in milk is casein. So this is a mixture of fast and slow digesting proteins. Whey digests kind of quickly, casein kind of slowly. A lot of people like to have the two mixed together in their products because it means you're going to be a bit fuller for longer because the casein digests slowly. And it also means you're going to have a more gradual release of amino acids into the bloodstream over time. Some people say that makes casein more anabolic. Others say there's not really much of a difference. If you want to find out, check out my full video comparing whey and casein right there. Also, the cows are grass-fed as well, which is important to a lot of people. Grass-fed dairy and grass-fed meat tend to have higher levels of like healthful fats and fatty acids like CLA. It is quite a lot higher in CLA. That said, there's just like 0.5 to 1 gram of fat per serving here, so it's not going to make any practical difference to your health. But you know, a lot of people prefer grass-fed protein just because the cows are probably better fed, stuff like that. So you know, if that's you, that's worth pointing out. As far as the other ingredients go, there's not a lot of differences between the two. The chocolate has some monk fruit extract, some cocoa, and the vanilla one has some sunflower lecithin to help with mixability. Otherwise, the ingredients are pretty much the same. Natural flavors, cane sugar, salt, high purity steviol glycosides, that comes from the natural sweetener stevia, silica, that's an anti-caking agent, and a blend of 3 gums for thickening. That's guar gum, xanthan gum, and carrageenan. So right now, you can only buy ladder in these little single-serve pouches. They did that on purpose because they don't want people wondering how many scoops they're supposed to take at a time. That's what Schwarzenegger said. So if you don't want to subscribe, if you just want to get a box of like 8 of these to try it out, that's like the standard order. That's going to cost a little over $3 per serving, or between like 10 and 12 cents per gram of protein. If, however, you subscribe, the price drops pretty dramatically. So if you decide you want to get 12 of these per month shipped right to your door, the cost is going to be between 9 and 10 cents per gram of protein, like it's $2.40 to $2.60 per serving. And if you decide you really like it, if you want to have a scoop of protein every single day, if you get 30 of them delivered every month, that price drops again to between $1.90 to $2.10 per serving, or between 7 and 8 cents per gram of protein. So that's a pretty dramatic discount. You can get over 50% taken off it if you subscribe for like 30 a month. However, the average protein powder out there, the average whey protein is between 3 and 5 cents per gram of protein. So no matter what you do, this is a relatively expensive protein powder, but it's very different to many other protein powders on the market. It's all natural, it's soy-free, they've got these probiotics in there, there's a lot of extra vitamins and minerals, so you may find that price worth it. All right, so why should you consider getting some ladder whey protein powder? Well, for starters, it is a mixture of fast and slow digesting proteins, which a lot of people are going to like, might help you feel more full, things like that. A lot of people like to have casein before bed as well. You might consider this more of an anytime protein, maybe. That's kind of up to you. Pretty tasty as well, especially this chocolate flavor. I was a pretty big fan of it. It's all natural as well, no artificial flavors, no artificial sweeteners, but it's like really all natural. Like the cows are even grass-fed, so all this stuff is very interesting. It's gonna be really appealing to a lot of people. It's got these extra probiotic bacteria, which I'm really, really impressed with. They've been linked to a ton of health benefits. It's a very interesting part of nutrition science right now. Again, immunity, inflammation, a ton of other stuff, so that's definitely worth weighing as a pro. Pretty nutritious as well. This has like almost half your daily intake of calcium, plenty of magnesium as well, quite a few vitamins that can be, vitamins and minerals and micronutrients that can be a little bit tricky to pick up in your day-to-day diet. And then finally, this is also tested by NSF. So this is sponsored by a lot of athletes, of course, Lindsey Vonn, LeBron James. These are people who cannot afford to fail a drug test. So with that spirit in mind, they got it tested by NSF, which is a body that tests for banned substances and those sorts of things. So it's very athlete friendly, and it definitely gives it more of a sort of clean vibe overall. Now, there are a few problems you might have with ladder's whey protein. For starters, technically it's more of a casein shake than a whey shake. There's about twice as much casein as whey, so I don't know, the advertising could be a little bit clearer maybe in that respect. Another thing I want to point out, it is pretty expensive. Again, this between 3 and 5 cents per gram of protein is the average protein powder out there. This is at least double that, and it could be quite a lot more than that. It could be between 10 and 12 cents per gram of protein if you don't sign up for subscriptions. Worth pointing out. Another thing is that it contains gums. It's got guar gum, xanthan gum, and carrageenan. There's probably nothing wrong with that for the vast, vast majority of people. There is a small subset of people who get indigestion from gums. That's worth emphasizing also because there are no digestive enzymes in this product either. So even though it has all those probiotic bacteria, which have been linked to a ton of beneficial effects on your digestion, a lot of protein powders out there throw in some lactase or proteases, aminogen, digestive enzymes that could help to minimize digestive discomfort, maybe increase protein uptake. That didn't happen here, so if you have a very sensitive stomach, it's possible this won't be for you. Finally, relative to other protein powders, this is not very low in carbohydrates. You're getting 5 or 6 grams for every 26 grams of protein. A lot of that comes from added sugar, which does help with the taste. And I'm not going to say sugar is always bad for you all the time. But if you are someone who looks for low carb shakes, this is not the lowest carb on the market, so worth pointing out. All right, those are my thoughts on Ladder's whey protein. I think it's a pretty impressive product. If you're happy to pay for it, I really think it brings something extra to the table relative to its competitors. But if you want to see if this landed on my full list of the best whey proteins on the market, just Google my full roundup with BarBend Best Whey.